Taking a shower outside?
Oh, that was so dusty and dirty. Gardening's a dirty job. Someone's got to do it. Hi, it's Steph. Welcome back to my garden. Today we're going to continue with the bed refresh that we started a few days ago, and we're going to plant these 2 phlox plants that I recently bought on clearance at the Home Depot. Now, they didn't look this pretty when I first got them, but I'm going to show you what I did to them to get them to send out their second flush of blooms. So about a week ago, I went to Home Depot and I had been eyeing these phlox for a little while now, since I've been doing my garden center tours at the Home Depot and Lowe's. Well, when I was there, I noticed that this Fashionably early crystal phlox was done blooming, and it was all dried up and in need of some deadheading. So I was looking around to see if there was a garden center associate available, and I asked the girl, the cashier at the register, I said, hey, is there a garden manager around or someone that can help me with these plants? And so she said, well, they've left for the day, but what is it that you need help with? And I explained to her that there was some plants that I was interested in, but they would now pass their prime and done blooming, and if I would be able to get a discount on them. Now, the thing with Home Depot is they aren't as keen on marking down their perennials. You will typically see around July that they'll do a 50% off sale on their shrubs and on their knockout roses, but typically not on perennials. So I did go ahead and ask. I mean, what did I have to lose? The worst that she could have said was no. And so she said, sure, I'll mark them down for you 50%. And so the plants did not look like this when I got them. But when I got home, I went ahead and I started deadheading the plant, and both of them actually, and they cleaned up really nicely. And then what I did was I fed them with a little bit of fish emulsion fertilizer. And within a few days, they had all these buds that began opening up again for their second flush of blooms. Now, these are a number 3 size container, and they were $19.98. And when the girl marked them down 50% off, I paid about $10 for each of those, which are a great deal. And these are pretty large plants, so if I wanted to, I could probably divide them and get multiples out of these 2 containers. Now, some facts about the Fashionably Early series of phlox. This particular variety here is called Fashionably Early Phlox Crystal, and it is a beautiful white phlox with a lilac or lavender center around the eye. It's also an earlier blooming phlox variety, which means it blooms 2 to 3 weeks earlier than other traditional garden phloxes. This is a medium to tall phlox, coming in at about 28 to 32 inches tall, so you'd want to plant this in the middle or back of your border. This variety has also been bred for excellent disease and powdery mildew resistance, which is a common issue with some of the older varieties of phlox. This plant isn't fussy about soil, but it does require a minimum of 4 to 6 hours of sun. So it is a part sun to full sun, which is over 6 hours. Full sun would be 6+ hours of sun. So that's where you'd want to plant this. And it's also a wonderful pollinator attractor for bees, butterflies, and it's just an overall wonderful garden perennial. Now, what caused me to do a refresh on this bed? Now, living in New England, we have 4 seasons, and the goal is always trying to have garden interest throughout the 4 seasons. This bed is very heavy with early spring through midsummer interest. First, I get my irises and then my beautiful daylilies, but the daylilies don't look as beautiful once they start dying back and finish blooming because the foliage looks awful. So I went through this week and I started refreshing this bed by cutting back all of that dried up and old daylily foliage. The plant will send up some new foliage, and so in a few weeks we'll start seeing little tufts of green grass coming back up. But I also wanted to add a few annuals to give this bed a little bit more blooms before the season is over and we get our first hard frost somewhere in mid to late October. So I planted a drift of Kilimanjaro white marigolds. So we did that earlier this week. And now I'm also going to add some white, which the goal of this bed is to keep it in a white, purple, and pink color scheme. I do have 3 pink knockout roses, but they are quite a bit smaller than my other garden beds. So I have a total of, so bringing in the white phlox will actually bring the white into this bed and give me some midsummer through fall blooms. Now I have 3 garden beds in total in front of my home. And of the three, this one is the one that has the least blooms at this time of the year. So this one certainly needed some work and some more color for the rest of the season. So that's why we're going to go ahead and add those phlox in this bed, as well as fertilize the marigolds that I planted earlier this week. After I'm done fertilizing, I'm going to clean up the edge on this bed, which has gotten pretty shaggy throughout the season, and then we're going to freshen up the mulch. But first, I have to go change out of a white dress because this is not the best choice to work in some dirt, and then we'll get to work. So in my last video, I mentioned how I have these Shasta daisies that are behind this knockout rose, and it's kind of sandwiched between this blue Atlas cedar and the rose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that daisy and I'm just going to move it over here. I'm only moving it maybe 3 to 4 feet, but it'll be just enough so that I can fill out this space, and the blue glow thistle can fill out the back here. Because it's still summer when I'm transplanting these Shasta daisies, I'm going to use my method of transplanting, which I shared earlier in the season, and I'm going to go ahead and prep this hole by filling it with water so that when I transplant over the daisies, they have some water available to them right away to prevent less of the transplant shock. Landscape fabric getting stuck in the middle. I'm going to go turn around to the other side. Look at my back. Reason 659 why I hate landscape fabric. Look, it's all grown around the roots of this daisy, and it makes it such a pain to transplant things. So if you can avoid landscape fabric in beds that you plan on gardening in, probably a good idea. But these are pretty shallow rooted. See, they don't have a whole lot of roots, but here they are. And we're going to go ahead and place it in the new home. Kind of low, so I need to add some of that dirt back into the hole.
Taking a shower outside?
Oh, that was so dusty and dirty. Gardening's a dirty job. Someone's got to do it. I've transplanted daisies before. This particular variety is like an old-fashioned Shasta daisy. They could be borderline like a weed, so they're not fussy at all. But what you want to do anytime you do transplant something, particularly in the summer, you want to make sure you keep it hydrated. So for about the next week, I'm just going to keep an eye on it, and if it doesn't rain, make sure I water it every day or every other day. So now all I'm going to do is finish planting it into the hole, add a little bit of this black cow compost to kind of amend it and give it some good soil to get rooted in, and water it and move on to planting the phlox. I've decided on the location where I'm going to plant the phlox. I wanted to make them pretty even in the bed so that there would be one on this side and one on that side. And I used this stone bump out on my house to line one up on that edge of the stone bump out and one on this side of the window in the stone as well. And I was looking at the way that it looked against this blue evergreen, and I really liked it because I feel like this blue color in the evergreen really helps the white blooms pop. So I'm going to plant this one here on this side in front of this blue star juniper, and this one in this area in front of my Colorado blue spruce. And I think that's going to look really nice. I got the hole dug for the phlox. All I'm going to do is add some startup fertilizer. I like to use this Espoma Biotone, and I'm also going to add some of my black cow compost and get it all planted. With the black cow compost, I also mix in some of the native soil, or the soil that was already in the hole that I dug up. And you always want to mix some of the native soil with your compost. out my hair. The sun has come up and it is so hot, so we're trying to rush to get this done and get out of the heat. But George just finished cleaning up the edge on this bed and made quite a mess on the mulch. So if you are going to apply fresh mulch and you have to edge, you want to edge before you apply your mulch so that the mulch stays clean. So he's going to apply the mulch. I'm going to go ahead and fertilize the marigolds that I planted just a few days ago. I'm going to use some of this fish emulsion fertilizer. This is a really mild organic fertilizer. You just spill some in your watering can and then you fill it up with water. And I'm going to give each of them a feed with this fertilizer so that it can give them a little boost. So hopefully they start growing a little bit quicker now that they're planted. It's later in the day now. It was so hot earlier, so we had to stop working. But we got the mulch done, the edge is nice and cleaned up, and my new phlox is planted. And now the phlox is already starting to go through a second set of blooms, and I'm hoping that it'll last through the rest of the summer into the fall. And my marigold drift has also been fertilized, so hopefully those will grow quickly and start putting out some blooms for me as well. So thank you for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos, and we'll see you soon.